Welcome inside our New York studios. Brent Stover, Beanie Wells, and Kevin Carter. Week 3 delivered in a big way, and one of the showdowns going in was the SEC battle between the Florida Gators trying to bounce back from that loss last week to South Florida, going into Baton Rouge to take on an obviously tough and third-ranked LSU team. It was Chippy before the game. It was Chippy throughout the game. Early on, DJ Lagway for Vernell Brown quit Weeks on the tackle. It'd be reviewed targeting. Weeks ejected. It was that kind of a rough and tumble game. Nothing. Now later on in the second, tied at 3, Kevin.
And this is Nussmeier to Xavier Thomas over the middle for the 23-yard touchdown. Tigers with a 10-3 lead. But Florida responds. Lagway dropping it in the bucket to Mizell for the touchdown. Tied at 10-10. In the third, LSU leading 13-10. Lagway picked off by Deshaun Spears, who takes it back for the pick 6. Tigers up 20-10. And then Florida with a chance to cut it to 1 score. Lagway throws another interception to end the game. This one kind of final. So Tigers go on to win this one. Bayou Bengals with a win.
1 touchdown to 5 interceptions for Lagway. 20-10 is the final. Nussmeier 15-27, 220. Touchdown and a pick. Durham almost 100 on the ground. They grounded out, LSU did. They fought hard. They battled. They were very tough defensively. A lot of mistakes for the Florida Gators, and LSU was able to take advantage, get to 3-0 with wins now over Clemson and the Florida Gators.
Entirely too many mistakes for this Florida football team. LSU trending in the right direction. Garrett Nussmeier making plays when he needs to at the most critical times. But I can't help but go back to Florida and how they've looked. I think the one thing that, just sticks out to me is the lack thereof development at the quarterback position. Not just at Florida, but in college football as a whole. But we're talking about the Gators right now. They have to get more out of DJ Lagway. I think they need to slow things down for him and break it down in simpler terms of how to read defenses, where to go with the football, not giving him too much offense at once.
I think trying to advance a quarterback's evolution is a mistake. When you're trying to give him too many reads, and I know what you're saying. Look, he's still a young quarterback, albeit talented. Why not let him play faster with a smaller set of instructions to go out there with? And I also think that dynamic we just saw on the screen may be a bit of an issue. You have Billy Napier, who's the head coach, who's also calling the plays. So, sometimes I think maybe we could, Florida, us Gators could use a quarterback whisperer, just a quarterback coach that works with him all the time and take the play calling responsibility out of Billy Napier's hands. Let him be a talent manager, manage his coaches, manage the players, get everyone on the same page. But I think that there's obviously issues in trying to advance a quarterback's evolution a little too quickly.
Napier felt like a home run hire at the time, but the last couple of, Gator coaches have, I guess, at least with the fan base and those who pay the money for the program, quite frankly, the boosters have kind of worn out their welcome. Is that happening with Napier? Is it too early to say that in his tenure and in this particular season?
In this particular season, it wouldn't be too early. I just think given the track record of what's kind of happened and how he's been in his tenure, that could be an issue. Florida fans are not the most forgiving fans. I mean, and when you're at a big branded program that's historically great and has national championships and, conference championships under its belt, you're not supposed to look a certain way. You're not supposed to present a certain way. There's teams you're not supposed to lose to. And I understand that getting back to that standard is hard, right? And is tougher than it looks, especially when you're following in the footsteps of guys like Steve Spurrier and Urban Meyer, right? That have done just colossal, amazing things there. But I think, unfortunately, Billy Napier may not have the time to do everything he wants to do to plan his work and work his plan.
And I think that's probably the more unfortunate thing is that he won't have the time because in this day and age, teams want to win right now, but unfortunately, when you're at a place like Florida, you don't want to continue to set that precedent and hitting the reset button every so often, every couple of years. I think you need some continuity. You need to maybe give him a little bit more time to develop his team. And I know, Kevin, you got to be scratching your head, like, give him more time. I mean, what more do we need? But it's a tough business.
Who are you going to start over with now?
Right.
I mean, what are you going to do? And he has recruited well, and the team has a lot of talent from top to bottom. There are talented kids who can play on that team, so can't take that away from him.
What about the fact that you're playing the third-ranked team in the country? Now, that doesn't explain last week, but South Florida had come off a blowout win against a ranked Boise State team. It's hard to figure from week to week, but let's talk about LSU because it's not just 3-0. It's not just a top 3 team. but you've got some nice wins early on your resume already. I mentioned the Clemson win to open the season.
No doubt about it. I mean, you have to be ecstatic if you're Brian Kelly and an LSU fan right now at what you're seeing on the football field, not just on the offensive side with Garrett Nussmeier, but on the defensive side, a place where they've had issues the last couple of years. And I think all LSU fans can probably go to is the defense that slowed them down and stopped them from being a team that made a run in the college football playoff. They're playing inspired football, playing much better in the trenches. You got to be happy with what you're seeing from LSU right now.
There are guys on this LSU defense that, look, their names like Harold Perkins Jr., right? we know that he's a dude. But what we don't know is there are a lot of names within the front seven that we're going to get to know as the season goes on that we don't know too well right now, because LSU went out and stocked the cupboard in terms of talent, in terms of rollable, usable talent, guys that can rush the passer. And, man, they're just able to outlast nearly everyone they play. It hasn't been necessarily the prettiest thing, but they are tough, and they will play any type of game you want to play, either a high-scoring game down to the wire, as they did with Clemson, or they'll play in kind of an ugly game, and just duke it out and come out on top in the fourth quarter. That's what they did tonight against the Gators.
Well, that's the thing, and Beanie mentioned it. Nussmeier makes the plays when he has to. They beat Clemson 17-10. They beat Louisiana Tech, kind of uninspiring 23-7. They win this one 20-10. They aren't putting up a ton in terms of yardage and points, but when he doesn't make mistakes. He did throw one pick on this day, but he makes the big plays when he has to.
Throwing to receivers in time and on time, throwing wide receivers open from their coverage, being able to ascertain and not make mistakes. In a game like this, it's everything. We could talk about being a game manager or being pedestrian in terms of your numbers, but man, if you've only got 2 interceptions and the guy playing on the other team has 5, then you've done your job effectively inside of what your team can create in terms of circumstances.
I think, to your point, you got to make the routine plays look routine, and I think LSU has been able to do that, and that's led to them having some success on the offensive side.
Home against Southeast Louisiana is the next game next week, and then it's on the road against 17th-ranked Ole Miss. Then they're going to get South Carolina, a team which was 11th ranked going into this week, but got drubbed by Vandy, lost their star quarterback in the process, so that's a whole deal. Then it's at Vandy, which is off to a 3-0 start, and then it's 16th ranked Texas A&M. So as always, with the SEC, this is certainly a gauntlet coming up for the LSU Tigers.
You're only as good as your last game, and look, this is about perception. Right now, you want to continue each week to solidify who you are, and by the time they face these teams, LSU's going to have a little bit more momentum on their side if they're able to get wins, against some of those matchups that you called out on their schedule.
Of the remaining games, 5 of those are currently ranked. Beanie, Kevin, I'm Brent. So long for now from our studios in New York.